I'm Dr. Jeanette Raymond, psychologist, psychotherapist, relationship expert, and author of Now You Want Me, Now You Don't. Are you in a place where you're thinking of separating from your spouse? Have you tried everything to make your marriage or your relationship work? Have you made sacrifices and compromises? Have you done all the talking and the romancing and everything else, and still you feel this terrible dread in your being? There's always a lump in your throat, a tightness in your chest, butterflies in your stomach, that somehow, no matter how hard you try, the threads of your marriage are worn out and it's going to crumble and the two of you are going to separate. Well, stay tuned, because I'm going to tell you how you could have saved it if you had started out in a different way. And I'm going to do that by talking about a couple that I saw who, after 20, 30 years of marriage and not speaking to each other for a long time, decided that the time had come where it was just too heavy, too stressful, too awkward to be pretending anymore, and they decided to live in separate places. They felt that they were already living separate lives, and it was just a sham pretending that they were, in the same house, even though they were operating as if they were, two lodgers, having nothing to do with each other, but just existing under the same roof. And now, how did this couple start off? Well, originally, the woman felt that her lover at the time dropped everything for her. And that was what made her feel wanted and special and loved and cared for, that he put her first. He didn't care about anything else. And at the time, he was kind of the oldest sibling in his family, and he was taking care of everybody because his father had died when he was young, and he was the man of the house and working, taking care of everybody. But he kind of took a break from that when he met his lover, and they became, the most romantic pair. They couldn't be split for a second. Everything was great. They felt as if they belonged, and the initial first few years of the marriage were wonderful. They had a couple of children, and then about 4 or 5 years into the marriage, things began to go wrong. But of course they went wrong earlier, and that's what I'm trying to point out to you, that the woman felt that because he had put everything else away and separated himself from his worldly duties, so to speak, with his family and work and everything else, and he focused only on her, that was what made her feel good. So when he went back to being his normal self, he still wanted to take care of his family, he still had work, he still had friends, and so on. She felt like she'd been wiped away. She no longer existed for him. She was not important. And she kept trying to be more sexy, to be more understanding, to be emotionally available. But to him, he had done what he needed to do. He had wooed her. He had allowed himself to get romantically involved, settled down, and now he was being the kind of person he had always been. Having his friendships, doing his work, doing his business. And his mantra in life was that because he was a male, it was his job to make sure that all his loved ones, that means his wife and children, including his original family, his mother and his siblings, that they wanted for nothing. So he was taking care of them financially. He made sure that they were socially in the right crowds, that his kids went to the right schools. He did that sort of thing because he thought that was the best way of proving love. He never knew any different. His father died when he was young, and he thought that was the way that it should be. So he couldn't understand it when his wife felt upset with him, that he wasn't like he used to be during the first year of their marriage. He was not available to her anymore, and she felt like he had another woman or more than one woman, and she couldn't understand that he wasn't philandering, he was just being himself. And the part of him that felt unappreciated and unseen and invisible, because that's how he felt when his wife didn't recognize his efforts to make her financially well off, to live in a beautiful home, to be in the best of society and have no worries ever about spending money on the home, on their kids, on visits, on her family, nothing. There was no holds barred. Her name was on everything. He didn't keep any secrets from her as far as his finances were concerned and so on. But in her eyes, because he wasn't making her the apple of his eye in terms of being with her 24/7 and romancing her and all the rest of it, to her she'd lost the man she fell in love with. He was no longer the partner. She felt like maybe she did something wrong. It was her fault. She wasn't keeping him satisfied and so on. But eventually they decided that their kids were grown and they were going to separate, and I was going to help them do it in the least stressful and agonizing way and so on. But what if, let's go to the what if, because this is about you. If you don't want to end up in this place, what if when you first met your partner, you had this wonderful, idyllic, romantic experience, and you felt like you were the only one. Life was so wonderful you could barely imagine it was true. Nobody else existed. It was just terrific, and all your dreams come true and so on. What if in that moment you had decided, you know what, this is wonderful, but I kind of want to know all sides of you. I want to know what life will be like living with you when the bubble is burst and the honeymoon's over, and I want to see you in your normal life, and I want you to see me in my normal life. What if you had come to premarital counseling and learned about each other's beliefs about what marriage is about, what love is about, how you each see it, how you don't? That could have saved the marriage. That could have made it work differently. You might have decided not to even get married because your dreams were not going to be fulfilled. But if you wanted to save the marriage, how could you do it? What if you couldn't come to premarital counseling? Maybe that was not what you would be willing to do at the time because you didn't see any need for it. What if 4 years down the road, when you see things falling apart, when you're not communicating, when you've got kids, but yet you feel like you're the woman and you don't feel wanted anymore, you don't feel sexually desirable, you don't feel like you're the one your husband comes and tells all his troubles to? What if you're the man and you feel you're not appreciated, that you're working hard and it doesn't matter, and not only is your money wanted, but everybody's grabbing at you to be with them to do this and that and the other, and you feel like you're giving everything, but yet they want more? What if that man cannot give emotionally in that way? What if they can't give of his presence because he feels like the money's enough? What if he's afraid of that kind of intimacy, of giving of himself, because he's so used to giving his money and his opinion and judgments and wisdom and all that sort of thing? That's when you could have come to therapy and learn all about the fear of intimacy, the fear of closeness. Because remember, this person lost his father when he was very young, and then you get afraid of investing in anyone emotionally. You want to put barriers up, so if anyone else dies, leaves you, abandons you, whatever, it doesn't hit you in the same way. Now, his wife couldn't understand that, and she felt like he had abandoned her. He wasn't the same person she married, and there's nothing she could do to bring that person alive again. What she didn't know was he was never that person. It was just a momentary blissful bubble where he allowed himself to attach, and then he went back to being afraid and putting all these barriers up. So at that time, if you had come to see someone like me, a therapist, we could have worked on all the issues around the fears of being abandoned and lost, how money takes the place of that, how being a good provider stops you from feeling scared and investing emotionally, how all those things become substitutes for emotional intimacy. And the wife could have understood it and made him feel safer again, slowly and slowly. And instead of feeling like she was no good, that she was suddenly trash and he was going to be philandering. That's what you could have done. And I urge you to call me, look up my website, and read my book, Now You Want Me, Now You Don't, because that will help you understand the fear of intimacy. I talk about 10 fears, and I give advice to the woman of how to help her husband to be safe, but in the book it's the other way around. And I urge you not to give up on your marriage, but to understand the fears of intimacy, to understand that after the romantic bliss bursts, it's not your fault that your partner doesn't want to be with you in that emotionally close way. It's not that your fault. They have fears and you have concerns that you're not good enough. And those two things together make it impossible for you to save your marriage without professional help. So I urge you to learn about those fears of intimacy and try and conquer them instead of giving up and being separate, because all the things you put in at the beginning have now gone to waste and you're not in a place to revive it. But if only you had done it earlier, look what you could have got. So in the meantime, read the book, go on my website, learn more about intimacy issues and how to save your relationship. Call me, email me through my website, and above all, write your comments below and let me know what you want, what you think, what's necessary, and I'll do my best to help you.